My apologies, sir, but due to an equipment swap, we've had to reassign certain seats. Your new boarding pass is for 32B, a middle seat in economy," the gate agent explained, her voice a rehearsed mix of feigned regret and rigid corporate protocol. Colonel Robert Bob Harrison, 85, a Medal of Honor recipient, glanced at the flimsy new pass, then back at his original first-class ticket. "This must be an error," he said softly. "This ticket was booked and confirmed months ago." The agent merely shrugged. "Equipment changes occur. 32B is your seat now." 8 minutes later, as Bob sat dejectedly near the bustling gate, a commotion stirred. The airline's president, pale and flustered, hurried to gate C12 in person. "If you believe true honor merits more than a middle seat, type respect below." Colonel Robert Bob Harrison carried his 85 years with a quiet grace that often rendered him unnoticeable in busy airports. His slightly hunched posture suggested past burdens, yet his faded eyes still gleamed with the sharp intellect and steadfast resolve that had marked his illustrious military career. He shunned flashiness. His travel outfit was modest: comfortable slacks, a crisply ironed collared shirt, and a worn but tidy blazer. Tucked in his wallet, almost as an afterthought, was a copy of the citation for the Medal of Honor he'd earned for extraordinary bravery in Vietnam, where he repeatedly braved enemy fire to save wounded comrades and lead his embattled unit. He seldom spoke of it, viewing it as a tribute not to his own valor but to the courage of those he served alongside. Today, Bob was headed to Washington, D.C., for a special White House ceremony honoring Medal of Honor recipients. His granddaughter, Emily, an Army captain herself, had used her hard-earned frequent flyer miles and a chunk of her savings to secure him a first-class ticket on Trans-Global Airlines. She wanted her grandfather, who rarely treated himself and endured chronic back pain from old wounds, to travel comfortably and arrive refreshed for the distinguished event. The ticket, confirmed months earlier, was for Seat 2A, a roomy window seat. Bob had anticipated a peaceful trip, a rare moment to unwind. He arrived at the busy airport with time to spare, cleared security without issue, and headed to gate C12. The gate area was already packed, a typical scene of organized chaos in modern air travel. He approached the podium where two gate agents, Janet and Stephen, were handling boarding for Flight 714 to Dallas. Janet, the senior agent, looked tense, her smile strained as she dealt with a passenger disputing carry-on rules. Stephen, younger and less rattled, was scanning boarding passes. Bob waited patiently in the priority boarding line, his first-class ticket and boarding pass ready. When his turn came, he handed them to Janet. She scanned his pass, frowned at her screen, and began typing rapidly. "Just a moment, Colonel Harrison," she said, her professional smile faltering. She whispered to Stephen, who also peered at the screen, puzzled. After a few more keystrokes, Janet printed a new, flimsy boarding pass. "Colonel Harrison," she began, her tone shifting to that carefully neutral cadence that often signaled bad news. "I'm sorry, but there's been an aircraft change for this flight. The original plane had a mechanical problem, and the replacement has a different layout with fewer first-class seats." Bob felt a familiar sinking sensation. "What does that mean for my confirmed first-class seat, 2A?" Janet avoided eye contact, focusing on the new pass. "Unfortunately, sir, due to the smaller first-class cabin and the need to accommodate our Diamond Elite status passengers who were also impacted, we've reassigned your seat. Your new assignment is 32B. She handed him the pass. Bob stared at it. 32B, a middle seat in the back of economy. From a spacious first-class window seat to a cramped middle seat in coach. A middle seat in economy, he asked, his voice soft but tinged with disbelief. After I had a confirmed first-class ticket for months? I'm traveling to a White House event for Medal of Honor recipients. My granddaughter spent considerable resources to ensure I could travel comfortably, given my age and service-related back problems. Janet's expression tightened, shifting from crocodile tears to a defensive recital of policy. Sir, I understand your frustration, but aircraft changes are sometimes unavoidable for operational reasons. Our contract of carriage states that seat assignments aren't guaranteed. We prioritize reseating based on fare class paid and frequent flyer status. While your original ticket was first class, it appears to have been booked with partner miles, which ranks lower in priority than our revenue-paying Diamond Elite members during involuntary reseating. Stephen, the other agent, shifted uncomfortably, opening his mouth as if to speak, then closing it under Janet's sharp glance. So my confirmed ticket, my purpose for travel, my age, my service, Bob paused, then added quietly, my Medal of Honor status, which is noted in my booking per TSA pre-check protocols. None of that counts. Janet blinked, a flicker of something, surprise, perhaps disdain, crossing her face. Medal of Honor? She glanced at her screen, then back at him, her tone now faintly patronizing. Sir, many passengers have admirable service records. Our system prioritizes based on paid fare and loyalty status. 32B is the best seat we can offer under these circumstances. You can request a partial refund for the fare difference after your flight by contacting customer service. There was no real apology, no effort to find a better solution, just a cold, bureaucratic brush-off. Bob knew arguing was futile. He'd encountered this rigid adherence to flawed policy before, in far graver situations. The casual dismissal of his circumstances, of the honor he embodied, hurt more than the prospect of an uncomfortable flight. I understand, he said, his voice barely audible. He took the flimsy economy boarding pass, a symbol of his downgrade, and stepped away from the podium. Finding a seat in the crowded gate area, he felt a deep weariness. It wasn't about the luxury of first class. It was about respect, acknowledgement, the basic decency that seemed so easily discarded by an algorithm and an indifferent agent. He sat, watching other passengers board, the now boarding first class, announcement stinging like a cruel irony. As Bob sat, a quiet frustration simmering beneath his weary acceptance, he recalled something Emily had told him when she booked the ticket. Grandpa, she'd said, TransGlobal has a hero's liaison desk for situations like this, for active military and distinguished veterans. If there's any issue, call this number directly. It bypasses regular customer service. She'd written the number on a card and slipped it into his travel wallet. He'd brushed it off then, not expecting to need it. Now, with a sigh, he retrieved his wallet and found the card. It was a long shot. Special lines often led to more bureaucracy, but he had nothing to lose. He dialed. The phone was answered on the second ring, not by a robotic system, but by a calm, professional voice. TransGlobal Airlines Heroes Liaison. This is Michael. How may I assist you? Bob concisely explained his situation. Colonel Robert Harrison, Medal of Honor recipient, confirmed first-class seat 2A on flight 714 to Dulles for a White House event. Involuntarily downgraded at the gate to 32B economy due to an equipment change. Gate agent unresponsive to his circumstances. He kept his tone steady, factual, unemotional. Michael listened attentively, typing quickly. Colonel Harrison, please confirm your booking reference and current gate number. Bob provided the details. One moment, Colonel. The line went quiet for about 30 seconds, filled only with faint keyboard clicks. Then Michael returned. Colonel, I see the situation. Please accept my sincerest apologies on behalf of Global Airlines. This is unacceptable. The equipment change was legitimate, but the handling of your reseating did not follow our protocols for distinguished service members, especially those traveling to official honorific events. Please stay at Gate C12. This is being escalated to the highest levels immediately. Someone will be with you very, very soon. The call ended. Bob wasn't sure what to expect. Highest levels. Very soon. It sounded like corporate jargon. He leaned back, closed his eyes, and let the gate's noise fade to a dull hum. 5 minutes passed, then 6. Economy boarding was now in full swing. Precisely 8 minutes after his call to the hero's liaison, the relative calm of Gate C12 was disrupted, not by an announcement, but by the urgent arrival of a small group hurrying through the crowded terminal. Leading them, his face pale and sweaty despite the air conditioning, was Mr. Richard Baxter, President and CEO of Global Airlines. Flanking him were 2 senior vice presidents, one for operations, one for customer experience, and his executive assistant, who was speaking rapidly into a headset. They bypassed the boarding line, heading straight for the gate podium, their faces a mix of panic and determination. Gate agents Janet and Stephen stared, stunned, as the company's top brass descended unannounced. Passengers in line paused, sensing something big. Baxter reached the podium, chest heaving slightly, and didn't even glance at Janet or Stephen. His eyes scanned the gate area urgently. "Where is he?" he demanded, voice taut with tension. "Where is Colonel Robert Harrison?" Janet, visibly shaken, pointed a trembling finger toward Bob, still seated with his eyes closed. "There, sir, by the window." Baxter and his entourage practically ran to Bob. He paused, visibly composing himself, then leaned down slightly. "Colonel Harrison, sir? My name is Richard Baxter. I'm the president of Global Airlines." Bob opened his eyes, looking up at the flustered, important-looking man. "Mr. Baxter," he acknowledged quietly. "Sir," Baxter began, his voice earnest, almost pleading. "On behalf of the entire Global family, please accept my deepest and most humble apologies for the utterly deplorable treatment you've endured today. No words can fully express our regret for this failure." He gestured vaguely toward the podium. "The mishandling of your seating due to the aircraft change was a catastrophic failure of our protocols, our values, and, frankly, basic human decency. This should never have happened." Janet and Stephen watched from the podium, their faces pale. They'd never seen Baxter at a gate, let alone so agitated. The vice presidents were already in a heated, hushed discussion with the station manager, who'd just arrived. "Colonel Harrison," Baxter continued, his voice steadying but still urgent, "we were informed of this situation only moments ago. The agent at our hero's liaison desk escalated it immediately. Please understand, this is not how Global honors its veterans, especially not a Medal of Honor recipient." He paused, then made a firm gesture. "Flight 714 will be held Toyota. System, at the gate. We are arranging for you to be reseated in the first-class cabin. If that means bumping one of our executives, or myself, so be it. You will travel to Washington with the comfort and respect you deserve. And, of course, your entire trip and any future travel for you or your granddaughter with Global will be complimentary at the highest service level for life. It's the very least we can do." Bob listened patiently, then gave a small, tired nod. "Mr. Baxter, I appreciate your personal attention. It wasn't about the seat, not really. It was about the principle, about respect." Baxter nodded vigorously. "I understand completely, and that's where we failed you terribly today." He turned to his vice presidents. "Ensure the first-class cabin is reconfigured immediately. Find Colonel Harrison the best possible seat, and personally escort him aboard. He then glanced at Janet, his eyes cold. "Ms. Agent," he said, his voice low and sharp. "You and I will have a conversation about policy interpretation, customer service, and the meaning of hero's liaison in my office as soon as this plane is in the air. As will your supervisor." Janet looked as if she might collapse. Stephen, beside her, appeared miserable. Baxter turned back to Bob, his expression softening. "Colonel, is there anything I can do for you right now? Coffee? Anything?" Bob managed a faint smile. "Just getting to Washington in time for the ceremony would be enough, Mr. Baxter." "You will be there, sir," Baxter vowed, "with honors." And so, Colonel Robert Harrison, Medal of Honor recipient, was personally escorted onto Flight 714 by the airline's president, seated in 1A after another passenger willingly gave up their seat, and treated with utmost respect for the rest of his journey. The incident at Gate C-12 became legendary within trans-global airlines. The Harrison Protocol was quickly enacted, mandating immediate top-level escalation for any service issue involving Medal of Honor recipients or similarly distinguished veterans. Janet and her supervisor underwent extensive retraining focused on empathy and special assistance protocols. Janet was later reassigned to a non-customer-facing role. Stephen, who'd seemed uneasy, was later praised for reporting his concerns about Janet's handling of the situation. Word of the airline president personally intervening after a Medal of Honor recipient was mistreated spread through veterans networks and social media, earning Trans both criticism for the initial failure and reluctant respect for its swift, decisive response. Bob attended the White House ceremony, arriving rested and with his dignity restored. He never mentioned the airport incident to Emily, not wanting to overshadow her thoughtful gift. But Emily heard murmurs through her military contacts and called him, worried. "Grandpa, are you okay? I heard there was trouble with your flight." Bob chuckled softly. "Just a little turbulence at the gate, sweetheart. Nothing a few good people couldn't fix." He knew that sometimes, even in impersonal systems, individual honor and swift action could make all the difference, and that even the loftiest corporations could be grounded by the quiet dignity of a hero and one well-placed phone call. Because true respect isn't about loyalty points or fair class. It's about recognizing the immeasurable worth of those who've given more than most could ever fathom. Subscribe to my channel if you believe heroes deserve to fly first class always, and that accountability should land swiftly.